Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our CFL Week 1 preview between the BC Lions and the Calgary Stampeders. Now let's take a look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with the Lions.
You look at the BC Lions on offense, you have to start with Travis Lulay, the outstanding quarterback, one of the better quarterbacks in the CFL. He's well protected, very good offensive line, and they're going to count on that offensive line to be consistent and dominant for all 18 games. And when you look at Kirby Fabian, interested to see what this guy can do in his first year in the CFL as a starter, highly touted prospect coming out of the University of Calgary. And we look at the passing game. I think this week, look for Marco Iannuzzi to have a big game. I think they're going to do a great job in featuring him and make him the focal point of the offense. I know they don't have G-Roy Simon anymore, but they still have a lot of talent at the wide receiver and the slot back positions. Defensively, the Lions are star-studded up front. They do a great job at getting to the quarterback. Second-year player Jabbar Westerman had an outstanding rookie season with 4 sacks, and he's looking to build on that. So when you look at this defensive line going against a Calgary front, that's going to be the biggest matchup. I think they can win this battle down in, down out. The problem is if they get over-aggressive, and we know how mobile Drew Tate and Kevin Glenn are, and if they get out of position not only in the passing game but in the running game, John Cornish can hurt them on the ground. So this team will have to play with controlled aggressiveness this time around versus the Stamps. And when you look at the back end of this defense, they're very talented back there as well. What hurt them last year in the West Final was the lack of communication. Many blown assignments resulted in big plays and or touchdowns. They're going to have to communicate better this time around versus Calgary. When you look at Calgary in this ball game, this is an offense that is good on every level. You look at their offensive line to do a great job up front, opening up the holes for John Cornish, who's the best running back in the CFL, led the league in rushing last year with over 1,400. They can beat you at the receiver position with 2 guys that do a lot of damage on the interior, the 2 slot backs, and Marquez McDaniel and Nick Lewis, a veteran. Both guys are very important to what they do offensively because they also are great run blockers. And when you look at the quarterback position, they have 2 guys that could be starters in this league, Kevin Glenn and Drew Tate. Both guys are very good. They needed both guys last year. And if they're going to make it to the Grey Cup again, they're going to need both guys this season as well. Drew Tate enters the season as the starter, but they won't be hesitant to pull him if he struggles and go to Kevin Glenn. Moving over to the defensive side of the football, you look at the linebacking core, and I think they're going to have a huge game in order for the Stamps to come away victorious. The short and underneath passing game is going to have to be taken away from BC. So when you look at Keon Raymond and Jawan Simpson, both guys can be effective as blitzers, but they're going to need those guys to drop back in the coverage and come away with some big plays. And they made a big pickup this week, signing Jonathan Heffney, who was released by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. That was a surprise release after training camp. That's going to help bolster that secondary. It just gives them another talented player on the back end, teaming him up with Fred Bennett, who did a sound job last season for the Stamps. This was a big move and one that could pay off in a huge way moving forward. Now let's take a look at some coaching points for both teams in this matchup. When you look at BC, the red zone offense has to do a better job this year. Last year they struggled. They couldn't convert touchdowns, and that really hurt this team as far as getting to the Grey Cup. They also have to take John Cornish away, the big play running back for the Stampeders. And the offensive and defensive line, they're very talented, and they're going to have to dominate this game in order to knock off Calgary. And when you look at the Stamps in this matchup, they can't be afraid to utilize both quarterbacks. 2 outstanding guys in Drew Tate and Kevin Glenn. Don't be afraid to go to both quarterbacks in this matchup. And deception versus over-aggression. You know the BC Lions defensive line will be over-aggressive, try to use a lot of misdirection plays, try to influence those guys into some bad situations and favorable situations for the offense, and utilize that situation that's going on in Calgary with the Floods as motivation to win this ball game. You're playing at home, the fans need a distraction, so try to use that as added fuel needed to come away victorious. I'm going with BC in this ball game. When you look at a football team that is very good on both sides of the line of scrimmage, it's tough to go against them. They also had the #1 defense last year in the CFL. I think offensively they're well balanced despite losing some guys in the off seasons. This is still a very good football team with Travis Lulay at the helm. So I think they'll come away victorious on the road versus Calgary. And I also want to thank BC Lion fan forums and Calgary Stampeder fan forums for always showing football game plan support.